Hello, I am Stephanie Mandeville, Communications Director for NEA Rhode Island. I am here, as I am each week, with Larry Purtill, President of NEARI, and Bob Walsh, Executive Director of NEARI. And today is Wednesday, September 9th, and this is episode 19 with Frank and Colleen. We have our special guests back, which we thoroughly enjoyed them the last time. So we have from Rhode Island Federation of Teachers, Frank Flynn and Colleen Callahan. Hello, you guys.
Hi, thanks
Hey,
for having
Steph.
me.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for
Great
being
way to
with
spend my
us.
birthday.
That's right. Happy
It's-
birthday to Frank.
Happy birthday. That's great.
All right.
So, as I said, today is Wednesday. So the governor did give her press conference today. However, earlier this morning, she was on the Jean Valicenti show, and she said that the walkthroughs have been excellent. And we know that we had quite a lengthy meeting with our local presidents yesterday, and they would not agree with that statement. Just to give a few anecdotes from our meeting, we do have a district that said they don't have enough staff, but the administration has told them that they expect to fill the positions by Monday. Again, today is Wednesday. We have support professionals who have not been properly trained in PPE donning and doffing. They also haven't seen the PPE that they are supposedly going to be using. A couple of walkthrough incidents where, while let me say this, that the districts and folks in the districts are trying. They're working hard and they are trying to make this happen. And so when local president is on a walkthrough and sees that the desks are socially distanced as asked, however, because they're distanced in the classroom, all the emergency window exits are blocked. And when that issue was brought up to the walkthrough team, the response was, well, we'll get that waived. COVID protections take precedent over fire code. And obviously we have a problem with that. So in our view, many of the walkthroughs were not excellent. So Frank, from the AFT side, how have your walkthroughs been going?
Well, similar results. We had our meeting last Thursday of my local presidents. Most of the walkthroughs hadn't been performed yet, but of the ones that did, we got some very eye-opening feedback. Not surprising to us, but some of the folks, first of all, the configuration of some of the teams were a little odd. One school had two gentlemen from the National Guard and some people from DBR, which I'm not sure what they bring to a safety inspection. They're probably very competent at what they do with business regulation, but it has nothing to do with safety. One of the interesting anecdotes came from Pawtucket, where the same team had visited Barrington earlier in the day, which has their brand new middle school, and they went to several schools in Pawtucket, and the consensus from the discussion that they had was that these are uninhabitable as they are right now, and they couldn't see educating students there. Now, we haven't seen a written report yet, and that's something that, well, I'm sure we'll talk about today. But, when we all met with the governor, we asked for inspections, and as you know, they walked that back after she came out and pronounced that, that schools were ready to be open, and then they were going to begin the inspections. That was very odd timing, and the analogy I used was when you go to get your car inspected, the man never puts the inspection sticker on the windshield till after the inspections are done, but we have the governor certifying that the buildings are safe to go in, and then they go around and do what we thought were going to be inspections, and now they're called walkthroughs, and they're probably providing very valuable information, but it's not enough, and no one's certifying that. So I think our next focus, and we'll all be involved in this, is going forward and seeing what we can really get in terms of certified inspections by people that are qualified to say, yes, in fact, these are able to be open on a number of fronts, including, electrical usage. We're going to put fans there now. We know a lot of these old schools had 2 plugs in them if they were lucky. And are we going to have to run extension cords all over the place to make sure that they can put fans in the windows, and do the buildings have the capability or capacity to do those kinds of things. So the more we dig down into this, the more questions we have. And I think that's the most disconcerting thing. We all want the kids in, we want the schools to be safe for them, but no one feels confident that any of the guidance we've gotten so far validates the ability to reopen these schools.
You used the word confident, and the governor said that she is confident today at her press conference that districts are going to comply. And when asked, she did say that some districts have not yet passed their walkthroughs and that they need to comply. She said that she doesn't believe that there are buildings that will not be able to be used, but that it may be classrooms or rooms that will be either blocked off or shut down so that they can't be used. Larry, can you talk a little bit about that? Again, today is Wednesday. School starts on Monday in person for many of our districts. Can you talk a little bit about our confidence level?
Yes, and it's not real high in a lot of places, and for that reason, the walkthroughs serve their purpose as far as finding problem areas that we knew existed. We know there were air filtration and problems and classroom space problems and windows not opening and all of that. And now, as Frank said, we need, on some of the more serious problems, need to have certified people in there to really do the inspection. We also need the building inspectors to be in there, et cetera, as Bob references the law that all that has to be done by August 1st every year. So the difficulty now is that we know that a lot of the districts, and you were right, they're working very hard and they're ordering fans and they're ordering the air filters, et cetera, but they may not be in by Monday. So, and if they do come in, you're only going to have the weekend to put them in. So will schools really be ready on Monday? Will they be safe? Will the building inspector or fire chief have gone through the buildings to see if the configuration doesn't block fire exits? I'm sorry, I don't believe that COVID supersedes fire codes, et cetera, because you can't solve one potential catastrophe by creating another one. So, you know, there's still a lot to be done. Yes, a few of our schools, probably some of them, are very close to being ready and can reopen. But some aren't, and we need a little more time. Cumberland's a great example. They knew they had problems. The walkthrough would have shown that anyway, but they went out and, you know, and hired their own firm to do the study, and as a result, they're going to wait 2 weeks before they try to bring people back so they can solve that problem. South Kingstown's doing some things with air purifiers in classrooms, etc. So we need more time in some districts. I think the governor said that today. You know, some haven't passed inspection. Well, if they haven't passed inspection, then let's go to distance learning and fix those problems and then bring them back. And as far as there are going to be some schools like Rogers High School in Newport that's probably never going to be able to open under these conditions because they had to move professional development for teachers out of there because the building was so unsafe. So yeah, there's still a lot to address in the net, and we have 4 days left.
Colleen, Providence is a unique district, obviously. PTU demonstrated at the State House some of the issues that they have with classroom setup, equity issues, and all of that. Can you speak a little bit? And the governor did mention Providence this morning in her remarks to Jean Valicenti. Can you just talk a little bit about the uniqueness that is Providence?
You know, we represent a number of urban locals, and when I think about what Larry said about Rogers High School, we have a number of places in, you know, whether it's Pawtucket or Woonsocket or Central Falls or Providence, that have schools that are in similar situations. And so Providence is unique, but we also have other districts who have faced similar kinds of concerns, probably just not at that scale. You know, I think that it's important to note, I believe, that Mary Beth Calabro, the president of the Providence Teachers Union, and her leadership and her members, they've offered to be collaborative from the start. You know, they have a great interest in getting their teachers, getting all staff, getting students back in school. They've gone above and beyond in terms of trying to provide services to students even through the summer. They did lessons on Channel 6. They've really tried to maintain connections with families who really need that connection. And so they have a great interest in going back to school, but they want to do it safely. And so, you know, it's clear, we do understand that the district has showcased a couple of schools that may be ready to go back. One of them happens to be the school that Mary Beth teaches in. But they have numerous other schools that are not ready to go back. And I think what the teachers tried to do yesterday at the State House was to really show people what that meant. So a number of things. They had, paced off the space and put chairs representing desks as fitting the 28 or so desks in that space to show how close it really is. Because we see images of, the perfect classroom that's probably twice the size of most of the classrooms in Providence that look like they're well spaced. But we've got pictures and anecdotes from teachers who are going back in trying to set up and maintain at least the 3.5-foot distance, and they're having a hard time doing that, and they really should be doing 6 feet. There was a teacher who spoke yesterday and did a demonstration, if you will, almost a pantomime, talking about the box fans and the air quality and showing that, yes, if she could only open those windows in her classroom. And so when we think about the equity issues and we think about the real needs of the students in Providence, again, this is a district that, like Central Falls, has been deemed not ready to go back full in person. But that doesn't mean that there are no children going back, because they are sending students back to buildings in Providence. And it's really very, very important for us to know if those buildings are safe for children, particularly children who have such high needs. And that's really what we've seen the Providence Teachers Union try to do. And Frank and I have been working with them very closely. It's unfortunate that I think the things that they're pointing out to people, hoping to get some results, some action to get those things remedied. And we were very hopeful about these walkthroughs that they'd lead to that. But that instead they're being painted with this brush that they're not being collaborative. They don't want to go back to school, when that could not be further from the truth.
Bob, we know that the devil is in the details. We have said that week to week, and district to district, building to building, windows don't open. Classrooms are trying to be set up in a socially distanced way, some 6 feet, some 4 feet. There apparently is some wiggle room there. Can you speak a little bit to what we're hearing from our folks as they start to see these details play out, and then talk a little bit about what's next?
Sure, Stephanie. The last part of our adventure before schools were supposed to open started when Larry and Frank wrote a letter to the governor, the commissioner, and the director of health and said, we want to go back. We're afraid. Parents are afraid. Students are afraid. And here are the 8 things you can do to make us less afraid, to make the schools safe and ready for a return. Some of those things they've done. They did not disagree with us on anything on that list. So it is phenomenally frustrating that the last sticking point on the list, the inspection of the schools to meet all the safety guidelines, has become the last issue. Now, there are other things that if they can't meet them, it's not going to happen. If the personal protective equipment is not delivered on time, you can't open. And the governor is very effusive with her can-do attitude that, oh, it'll all be there by Monday. If it's not, you can't open. If you can't get your 48 to 72-hour testing system in place, you can't open. They claim it's going to be there. We'll find that out one way or the other next week. But the one thing that there's no leverage on is the state law requires. The governor gave Larry credit, maybe that's why she thought he was so collaborative, for saying that our people would be more confident, our people being everybody, teachers, education support professionals, parents, and students, if the buildings were inspected by the Department of Health. But as brilliant as Larry is, that wasn't his idea. That was an idea that was derived from state law. So what he was saying, Governor, if you follow the state law and let people know that you followed the state law, people would be more confident. And the state law also says that the Department of Labor, Occupational Safety and Health is also supposed to sign off on every school building in the state every year by August 1st. And it says the local fire chief, the fire inspector, is supposed to sign off, and so is the local building authority. It's got to meet all 4 criteria every year, every building, every classroom. There's no wiggle room on this. It's a state law, and the superintendents can be charged with a misdemeanor if it doesn't happen. I don't know why we can't get the media to ask the simple question, are these buildings fixed? Did you follow the law? Are they signed off on?
Is it in the statute that the super can be charged with a misdemeanor?
Yeah, it is. It is statutory language. And I don't think you should waive that away. I don't think you should waive the liability away. I think you should simply follow the law. We think you should simply follow the law. We want to go back. We want to go back to the extent possible, but we want it to be safe, and we want people to be confident that it's safe. And you can't actually, so there has to be some wiggle room here in one sense. You can't inspect a building on August 1st if then you set up the classroom to comply and then find out that you're putting desks blocking fire exits or desks butted up against a heater that, if the heat works, is going to run up to 100 degrees and burn a student. So there's a lot of things that need to be done. So the next steps, the districts that are ready, we're fully supportive. The schools that are ready, we're fully supportive. Colleen mentioned Mary Beth's school is a model of one in Providence that's there. But if they're not, they shouldn't be opened, and they shouldn't go back, and distance learning should be the alternative. And in some of those districts, we will have to contemplate something that we did not want to do. And you're all hanging on thinking I'm going to say a strike. No, I'm saying we'll have to go to court, and we'll have to ask the court for relief to simply say that building's not safe to open. They did not comply with existing state law, and it can't open. We don't like that. We wish school committees would show the intestinal fortitude, as some of them did, to stand up and say, gee, given the choice of having the governor mad at us or putting children and staff in danger, we'll take the anger as opposed to the danger. And it's really as simple as that. I know we all shake our heads with frustration that why don't people see this? This is a public health crisis. There's a pandemic in this country. We are trying, as the governor says, to be as creative and thoughtful as possible, but there's some things we can't change. 50 years of neglected infrastructure is not going to be changed by someone running through the building and saying, oh, it's not an inspection, it's just a walkthrough. Get it done safe, and we'll all be back safely. And not until.
And we're not asking for 50 years of work to be done by Monday, but you need to make some sort of effort to ensure safety in the details, room to room, that's done.
Yeah,
Frank, you want to, yeah.
It's just simple standard, really.
Yeah.
The commissioner closed today, and I can't remember all 3 words, but she did say there were 3 words that are leading us into this school year. 2 of them are grace and commitment. None of them were health or safety.
The other's flexibility.
Flexibility, that's right. I'm surprised patience wasn't on that list. Larry, you couldn't get that on the list of words? That struck me, that health and safety were not one of the 2 words selected for leading us into this school year. Frank, why don't you give us a closing, and then Larry, you can go after Frank.
Sure. You know, you're absolutely right to concentrate on that. And I think Dr. Scott as well, when she was making her remarks, talked about, you know, getting the economy back in order. And, you know, we all want everyone to be working. We need it. Our finances in the, you know, upcoming year and years are going to be dire because of the shortfall this year. But health and safety has to be first. So you can't overlook health and safety to spur the economy. We need to get it back as soon as possible, but this isn't the right time to be cutting corners in putting kids' health and safety at risk. So I think you know, I'm happy to have the opportunity to work with NEA to do what we need to do to move this process along. That's been great. This has helped us. Our organizations work more collaboratively, which is beneficial. But we certainly need to get those people that need to be hearing this message. This is not about the unions or the teachers. This is about the health and safety of human beings, whether they be children or adults, and that is first and foremost.
Larry?
You know, one of the things I've been tweeting out lately is common sense. And to me, it's common sense. If the building is not ready and you can't guarantee parents that their children are going to be safe there. Yes, we know that no matter what you do in life, there's risks, you know, going to school, going to work, going to the market, whatever. But we also rely on that and expect that things are going to be safe for us when we do those things. And the one thing that parents should be able to expect out of the schools is that those buildings are going to be safe for their children. And if it's not, and in many cases of what we're talking about things that are only going to take a few days, maybe a week or two. Fans haven't come in yet. When they come in, we can install them. PPEs haven't come in yet. Now, there are bigger problems in some schools, certainly in Providence and other places. By the way, to Mary Beth and I went in Providence, I want them to know that NEA Rhode Island is 150% behind what they're doing there. But just common sense. Why would you send someone into a building that's not safe? And the people on the ground, I mean, I know some superintendents are a little cautious of what they're saying out there, but you know, privately they'll say, yeah, we understand some of these buildings aren't ready. So why just use some common sense? And if you have to keep children home for another week or two, no, it's not ideal. Yes, they should be in school, but I'd much rather have them home for a week or two and know that they're safe when they go back than send them someplace and say, I hope it's safe. There's too much at stake here. So be cautious, use common sense, and yes, at some point this will be over. But until then, it's the buildings. As Bob said, we're down to that last issue, the safety of the buildings. And I think it's just common sense. We can get this done, but we have to have the will to do it.
We had a couple of outstanding questions from our meeting last night, and I just want to address that for one moment. We were looking all over the internet for K-12 rapid testing information. It doesn't exist yet, which is why we couldn't find it. So apparently, according to the governor's press conference today, the K-12 rapid testing information will be posted on Friday, and it will be open and ready for use on Monday. So once that's posted, we'll put it on our website. We are also posting the walkthrough reports, some of which are reports, some are summaries, and those that distinguish, those are being distinguished on the website, and you can see all of that information at neari.org/safereopen. As those come into me, I am putting them up on the website because we were told that they would be public and transparent, so I'm going to make them public and transparent.
Good.
Yeah.
I think that's it, you guys. This is the last one, I think, before the school.
Whatever
bell, right?
happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because normally we'd always be talking about politics. Thank you, those who chose to participate by voting in the primaries, which were yesterday, and we'll get the results maybe by tomorrow. So this is a reminder to apply for your absentee ballot for the general election now and beat the rush. We anticipate over 400,000 people will vote by mail in this round. So I can't say vote often like the president did, but I can say vote early. And of course, vote for the endorsed candidates from Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals on the neighborhood.
That's right. Thank you all. I'm sure we will do this again when we convene after school on Monday, however that looks in each district. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Colleen, Frank. Thanks, everyone.